Good evening. I'd like to call the Cocalico Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Thursday, December 16th to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would ask that everyone please double check phones, electronic devices, just make sure they're on vibrator or off, either or. This meeting was duly advertised in accordance to the second-class township code and printed in the Lancaster newspaper on December 23rd, 2020. There were no executive sessions held since our last meeting. There's one letter here I'd like to read before we get into the meeting minutes. This is from Tom Goodman, our solicitor. The letter is dated December 16th, 2021, and it reads as follows. East Cocalico Township Supervisors. Gentlemen, I am 75 years old. It is time for me to resign as the solicitor for East Cocalico Township effective December 31, 2021. Thank you very much for affording me the opportunity to serve as the solicitor for the township. Tom, good.
I believe he served in that capacity since the summer of '76. Close.
I wasn't in the country.
All right, I'm old, but I believe he worked for a firm, Shirk, Rice, and Buckle. Roger Rice and K.L. Shirk Jr. and anyway.
Past meeting minutes for approval. These are meeting minutes from December 2nd. Any additions, alterations, corrections?
Nothing for me.
Mike, we had the one email that came in. We have to discuss that one.
Well, we do minutes, we don't do a transcript.
Okay, there was an email that came in, I forget the date, from Ms. Corden. She wanted her statement put into the meeting minutes. So I've never had that occur, so. Thoughts?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? I will make a comment that we've never had someone ask for that. I think the meeting minutes should reflect those statements if the individual takes the time to go ahead and ask for that. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, action item, land planning, Casey.
Okay, first up for tonight, 36 Muddy Creek Church Road. Behind me tonight is Steve Berling with Harbor Engineering. He is the design engineer for the project. To give you a little background on where this property is, it's essentially the catty corner / directly behind Procopio's. There's a vacant lot there, and there's some already existing apartment buildings. I think they're all 4 units that are along that strip as South Muddy Creek Road kind of veers off from 272. The plan already has E&S adequacy PennDOT on October 15th had issued their minimum use driveway permit. For those who don't know, that roadway is a state road. And tonight we are to discuss some waivers, modifications, and deferrals. The plan is in the midst of reaching, I would say we're satisfied with it. There has been a lot of back and forth through emails recently on some comments. Today I reviewed the cost opinion, which I found to be satisfactory. So we're nearing the finish line with that project. Steve, if you want to go over anything else with the project specifics.
Just very briefly, it's a 4-unit apartment building. It had zoning approvals because it's in the C1 commercial district to allow for apartments. Parking's in the front, public water, public sewer, and we have 2 stormwater management facilities that are both subsurface, one underneath a portion of the parking lot and one to the rear of the structure.
So there are quite a few motions here for this project, or waiver modification requests for this project tonight. Mike, you have a preference on how we race down through them, try to
be as efficient as we
be
possibly
as
can.
efficient as possible, right?
In which case, we can group some of them together also, or most of them.
Yeah, I don't care how we do it. There are quite a few.
Maybe either stand or speak up a little so that
No
the
problem.
people can,
So
I don't know how many are on Zoom, but
I guess, Mike, the easiest thing for me is to go down through here and hit some of these waiver modifications and then come back and hit some of the deferrals. That's okay with you?
Yeah, that'll work.
So we'll try and group some stuff together. First, waiver modification on my list would be to approve waiver modification of section 194.9 of the East Cocalico Township subdivision land development ordinance related to preliminary plan processing and authorized plan to be submitted and reviewed as a combined plan, meeting both requirements of preliminary and final. The next would be to approve a waiver modification of section 194.14C4 of the East Cocalico Saldo and section 185.14.B4 of the stormwater management earth disturbance ordinance within depicting existing physical features within 200 feet of subject properties to authorize the applicant to provide LiDAR topography and GIS information surrounding the general project area as currently depicted on the current plans, conditioned upon any additional details, survey information being provided, if deemed necessary to address any remaining clarity comments to satisfaction of the township and township engineer. Next waiver modification would be to approve a waiver modification of section 194.25L5 of the East Cocalico Saldo related to clear site triangle to the access drive and authorize a reduction in the size of the clear site triangle to 50 feet. And lastly, for this grouping, to approve a waiver modification of section 194.28H of the East Cocalico Saldo related to the required width of an access drive to authorize the use of a 20-foot wide access drive as approved by PennDOT through the issuance of a minimum use driveway permit. I can get into any of those 4 specifically if you'd like.
So that would be A for the board here, A, B, D, and E. Motions A, B, D, and E on your motion sheet.
Probably H goes with that. That H.
That's the
Yeah, there's a lot of motions. I think split it up is in a couple sections is better than trying to do all of them at once.
It's a quick question. The clear site triangle for 50 feet, where is it, what's it at now?
So it is at 50 feet. So the ordinance requirement is 75 feet. Clear site triangle is different than clear site distance. Clear site distance is a PennDOT requirement as you pull up and you look safely left and right. The site triangle is a phantom lines that don't have any type of trees, signage, obstructing your view as you approach the intersection. So for a more residential use, such as a 4-unit apartment that only has 9 parking spaces at the center, 50 feet is fine. That allows an additional landscape buffer to be in the frontage instead of being pushed farther back. So if you really zoom in, you can see the dotted triangle at the entrance. It's tough to see on the screen. I know exactly where I'm looking. Where your cursor is, yes. That's a clear site triangle.
Okay, thank you.
So you read those four motions, so the board, if they're okay with that, can approve
Yes.
those as read.
Yes.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve those four motions as read, specifically related to A, B, D, and E. Do I hear a second? Okay. Motion and second. Any questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries.
All right, so the next grouping, I'd like to hit essentially H, I, and J, which are all three more waiver modifications. H, motion to approve a waiver modification of section 194-33E1 of the East Cocalico Saldo related to the required depth of vertical curb and to authorize the use of 18-inch vertical curb consistent with PennDOT requirements. Next one, I, motion to approve waiver modification of section 194-46 of the East Cocalico Saldo related to park and open space requirements for the project and relieve the applicant from paying a fee in lieu of park and open space land dedication based on the applicant's participation in the alert program as confirmed by the receipt of alert application by the township. And J, to approve a waiver modification of section 185-27A1A4 of the East Cocalico Stormwater Management Ordinance related to required minimum diameter pipe size and to authorize the use of 6 and 8-inch diameter pipes within underground infiltration bed, number 1. So again, that's HIJ. Just to touch a little bit on the LURA program, as Steve had said before, this is a unique scenario where this is a residential use in the commercial zoning, which they did get zoning hearing board approval for, and that's why they could apply for the LURA program. And based upon earlier emails this week, the township has received that LURA application.
Township has one,
Received the alert application.
but we don't get a fee then?
It's a fee in lieu of.
LURA is a program.
Yeah, but then have we quantified the fee?
We didn't calculate it because it was our understanding that this project was eligible for LARA, so we did that in lieu of.
I think LURA has done it in lieu of the fee of paying the open space.
Okay.
And the township did confirm with the township solicitor back in September that this is eligible for the LRTA program. Tom Goodman's response letter is the property is located in a C1 zoning district. Therefore, it's eligible for the LRTA program. Township designated all industrial properties, commercial, and other business properties within the general commercial zoning district. It's my opinion that this property is eligible for the LRTA program. So that's what we work on.
Thank you.
So that would be the remaining three waiver modifications, H, I, and J.
18-inch vertical curb is what continues to pop up.
Yeah, so obviously with any ordinance, there are certain things that are outdated. So in East Cocalico Saldo, the 22-inch curb was a PennDOT requirement back when it got written. PennDOT updated their specs. I think we've been consistent with not requiring more than PennDOT with an additional 4-inch curb.
No, and I was just mentioning over to Sharon, because that was one of the things she and I talked about some of these old ordinances that just haven't kept up, that we need to, instead of constantly doing these motions and waiver modifications, this is one of them.
If the document itself needs to be.
Needs to be updated, yes, agreed. Okay, so gentlemen, your three motions. Do you want to make any motion for that?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion, we approve the motions as written, as read by Mr. Kirschner. H, I, and J.
And I will second that. So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries.
All right, so now I'm going to jump into the 3 deferrals before jumping into some of the more administrative items. So I guess I'll explain some of the deferrals first. The first deferral, C, will be a deferral of street widening and street right-of-way improvements. Currently, the ordinance requires a 60-foot right-of-way and a 36-foot cartway. Out there today, along that street, is a 30-foot, 33-foot right-of-way and a 24-foot cartway. The other deferral would be associated with concrete sidewalk and then concrete curb. All right, those are the 3 deferrals. So I can get into any of those 3 in more detail. If not, I would just going to proceed to read those. The first one, C, motion to approve a deferral of requirements of section 194.25C1 and 194.25J1 of the East Cocalico Saldo related to dedication of additional right-of-way and street widening improvements along the frontage of the subject property, conditioned on associated notation acceptable to township being placed on the final plan documenting the deferral and the property owner's sole responsibility to design, permit, and install the improvements and grant the right-of-way at such time as required by the Board of Supervisors. Second deferral, which would be F on your list, would be to approve a deferral of requirements of section 194.32A of the East Cocalico Saldo related to the requirement for sidewalk along the frontage of the subject property, conditioned on associated notation acceptable to township being placed in the final plan documenting the deferral and the property owner's sole responsibility to design, permit, and install the improvements and establish associated pedestrian easements at such time as required by the Board of Supervisors. And the third requested deferral would be a motion to approve a deferral of the requirements of section 194.33A1 of the East Cocalico Township Saldo related to the requirement of curbing along the frontage of the subject property, conditioned on associated notation acceptable to township being placed in the final plan document deferral and the property owner's sole responsibility to design, permit, and install the improvements and grant right-of-way at such time as required by the Board of Supervisors. I will note, if Mike zooms in a little bit on the apron of this plan, the interior layout is curved. The curb radius goes and fans out there up top. That does not extend the entire width of that road frontage. It is about 4 feet off the existing roadway edge. And then that bold line just below this cursor is the ultimate right-of-way, which would be the 30 feet from center line. Not the stop bar, but the one going across the property from side to side. That would be where the ultimate right-of-way would be, where if it was to have a 60-foot right-of-way. So just to give you an idea on what's there right now. If there are no further questions, those were the 3 requested deferrals.
Yes,
Why, it's gonna be pure residential, correct?
Yes.
Why would we defer the sidewalk?
Currently, there are no sidewalks on either side of that property or across the street. I forget how many are going towards the east on this plan, but there's probably 3-4 residential apartments on that side that do not have sidewalk. The church or the chapel and the neighboring residential dwellings do not have sidewalk. So if the request was based on that no one around them has sidewalk, if they're not opposed to installing sidewalk, they would just like to do it if the township requires them when other properties may develop in the near future or future, so that they can all develop at the same time.
What's the current use of that chapel, do we know?
I have no idea.
I believe
the
somebody was
chapel,
renovating
Modifying
it
into
for
a
a
house.
residence.
it's a yeah, that's been modified into a
I
residence.
don't say that, I thought that.
And that's a common one with curb and sidewalk specifically, that a lot of plans in the townships have those deferrals, that if neighboring properties, all of a sudden you have a strip down a roadway that, these 5 or 6 properties were developed previously, had deferrals, the township could require them all at that time to put in curb and sidewalk.
Eventually, somebody has to be first.
Or collective, you say, okay, now we have these 6 properties, now's the time.
Okay, so I will make a motion for items C, F, and G for the deferrals. Do I have a second?
And that was to approve, correct?
Motion to approve, yes.
Thank you. Okay, and I will second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Alan Maxwell, I live on James Drive, and in heavy rainstorms, we get a lot of runoff coming off of that property down between the houses on James and down Burkholder's driveway to the point where it almost floods out the intersection with Linda Drive. Now that you're taking away all that green space and putting a house and a lot of parking space in, that could amplify that situation and make it worse. Is there anything being done to kind of control that or minimize that impact down on James Drive?
So,
So, as part of the stormwater management ordinance that we have to adhere to, we have to manage the runoff from all the new impervious surface up to and including 100-year storm events. So we have 2 very large seepage beds on the ground, one in the front, one in the rear, to capture all the impervious surface including the ground. So the calculations we provided to the township demonstrate that there shouldn't be any additional runoff on these projects.
Okay, good.
and based on the calculations and the ordinance requirements, pretty much every site that gets developed will have less runoff from the site than it did during a pre-existing condition, and that's part of the township's ordinance. But that being said, their property would not be required to account for anything that's going on that's not their doing.
Right.
Or problem. So this plan does account for their entire site. And it does not alter the existing conditions elsewhere to make it any worse.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. 4-3.
Then the last 5 are more administrative. One is a motion to conditionally approve. If the board feels as though considering that motion, I believe that would include it. But those 5 motions would be to authorize a representative of the Board of Supervisors to sign Section 8D of the DEP sewage facilities postcard exemption for public sewage service related to the 36 Muddy Creek Church Road preliminary final landfill plan when it's submitted to township with corresponding capacity authorizations from ECTA and Ephrata Borough. Next motion, I guess I should stop there. Would the board consider conditional approval at this time based on our plan review and the township's satisfaction with the item so far? And as recommended by the planning commission.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. It's been done before.
But, this has been done many times. Let's do these motions separately.
Go to the
Yeah,
next
let's
5
do this
separate.
separately. Even though they're administrative, let's do these separately.
Okay.
So, I will make that motion.
I'll second that.
Jeff will second that. Any comments or questions? Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. That motion carries.
And the next motion, if you're okay with conditional approval, would be to conditionally approve the 36 Muddy Creek Church Road preliminary final land development plan based on the applicant's consultant addressing the comments in the Becker Engineering LLC review letter dated November 22nd, 2021, to the satisfaction of the township.
Yes.
I would so
And I'll second.
And a second.
I'll
Motion,
second, yeah.
motion and a second.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries.
Next, and this one would have been updated based on the cost opinion that I reviewed and approved today. So the motion be to authorize the Board of Supervisors to sign the improvement guarantee agreement when executed by the applicant, submitted to the township in a form acceptable to township solicitor and accompanied by financial security in the amount of $79,545 and to a form acceptable by the township solicitor.
And I will make that motion.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, that motion carries.
Next motion to authorize the Board of Supervisors to sign the stormwater management easement agreement when executed by the applicant and submitted to the township in a form acceptable to the township solicitor.
And I will make that motion. Second.
Second.
Motion and second. Questions? Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries.
And lastly, for this plan, motion to authorize the Board of Supervisors to sign the plans when executed and certified by all necessary parties and submitted to the township in a form acceptable to township and township solicitor, and release the plans for recording when the township has received all other required legal documents, the required financial security, ECTA approval, PennDOT utility highway occupancy permits as necessary to satisfy conditions of the approval.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries.
Anything else?
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to a different project, 35 Keeler Ave, stormwater management plan. This is located in the 1949 subdivision of the Faust area, Keeler Ave, I think it's Faust Lane, kind of across the street from the Reevestown Fire Company. Essentially, they submitted a plan for a residential dwelling on one of the vacant lots. We reviewed it, sent the review letter back. Based on the date of action, they submitted a written time extension request. So that motion would be to accept the written time extension offer as submitted by the applicant's consultant dated December 9th, 2021, which will extend the deadline for action on the 35 Keeler Avenue Stormwater Management Plan until April 20th, 2022.
So, one representative, you inspected. Okay. And I will make that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Any questions? Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries.
And similarly, the 31 Garden Spot Road is a stormwater management plan. Based on the deadline for action, the consultant submitted a time extension request. So the motion for tonight would be to accept the written time extension offer as submitted by the applicant's consultant, also dated December 9th, 2021, which will extend the deadline for action on the 31 Garden Spot Road stormwater management plan until March 20th, 2022.
You inspected. And do we have a motion for that?
Yes, I will make the motion there.
And a second.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions? Okay, motion second. All in favor? Opposed, none. Motion carries.
And if there are no further questions for me, that is it for our engineer's report.
Thank you, gentlemen. Merry Christmas. Okay, next item, Farlow Communications, the phone system maintenance agreement.
You have a copy of the annual maintenance agreement with Farlow Communications for the period December 1st through November 30th, 2022. The terms mirror the past year, and the cost for renewal is $2,341. That's $180 higher than what it was in 2021. So it's a pretty standard renewal. We have included a motion to execute and sign the Farlow Communications 2022 telephone system maintenance agreement at a base cost of $2,341. The invoice, once it's approved, just to make you aware, the invoice is included with the bills report that's the project or the agenda tonight.
Okay, wishes of the board. Any
Chief, how's the service been? I mean, when they're called, do they arrive timely? Do they?
Yeah, they're very responsive. I mean, we have a good situation here with both the telephone maintenance and the computer group as well. I mean, they're very responsive and they get out on a good time. So.
Okay. Appreciate knowing that.
Okay. We have a motion.
Just a question, Mike. Also on the list of bills, there was a call out to Farlow for some, an issue, I think, out front here. Just a week ago or so. Would that wouldn't be covered under the maintenance agreement because it was something different? Or?
Yeah, we'll have, we have a base essential service that'll give us 15 hours of labor. It has it in here. Usually it's covering the general things. If something goes wrong with the system, if we're having an issue with voicemail. If we bring something else in different, like when we brought Sharon on, we had to create a new line and get that there. That was something separate than our general maintenance part.
Okay,
and I believe sometimes, the last one you may have mentioned, there was some sort of integration between Farlow and the township, and maybe part of what some of our cameras were doing as well. So there was sort of a combination of custom, Farlow, and some things that Lisa was doing that they all had a piece in that. So.
Okay, yeah, it was less than $100 on the bill there, but it's just, when I saw it, I was curious how that gets integrated into this.
Right. Yeah, this will be the standard. The phones aren't working, or lost the dial tone or something along those lines.
Is it 15 hours for the calendar year or 15 hours per incident?
It's 15 hours for the year.
For the year.
Right. It's a pretty dependable system so far. We haven't really had, I think there's 7 months, and it's not like we're down or anything like that. So.
No.
And anything over the 15 hours is billed at $78 an hour. For the base 15 hours.
I'd say it's as competitive as what's out there, so.
Okay, wishes of the board.
Make a motion to execute and sign the Farlow Communications Phone System Maintenance Agreement for 12/1/21 through 11/30/22 at a base cost of $2,341.
Second.
And motion and second. Any other questions, comments? Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, motion carries. Okay, police pension, the COLA, cost of living adjustment, Mike.
Yep, as the township has done each year, generally at this last meeting, has addressed the police pension COLA issue. This year, there is a motion that is included to approve the police pension automated cost of living adjustment at the maximum allowed increase of 3% in accordance with the side letter agreement between East Cocalico Township and East Cocalico Township Police Officers Association dated December 16th, 2020. The aforementioned agreement modifies the police pension plan ordinance in Section 1 and agrees to grant an automatic cost of living adjustment when the police pension plan is funded at 90%. We are at that, beyond that now, so that's what's triggering this, and it does not have to be done by resolution, can be done by motion. Ron Bittner from Gerard had provided a study. They looked at the actuary study that was done at the beginning of the year and estimated total financial impact with the 3% increase to be about $165,846. And this amount will be slightly different when it's calculated and reported to 2023 actuarial evaluation for funding in 2024. Judy, anything you want to add to that, or? Okay. So we have an agreement that triggers this, and essentially this is the last meeting of the year to put this in place, and we have a motion that's been developed by the pension advisor.
Okay, I will make the motion to approve the police pension automatic cost of living adjustment agreement between East Cocalico Township and the East Cocalico Township Police Officers Association. dated September 16, 2020. The aforementioned agreement modifies the police pension plan ordinance at section 1, article 4A, and agrees to grant the automatic cost of living adjustment when the police pension fund is funded at 90% or greater. So that is the motion.
And I will second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm under the old system. I don't believe it's applicable to the old system, but I'm not going to chance it, and so I'm going to abstain.
So, all in favor?
We'll do it second.
Sorry, aye.
Aye.
And one abstention. Thank you. Okay, FS4 program grant awards.
Yeah, at the last meeting, we had approved the contract with Team Ag to do some of the administrative inspection, verification work as part of the FS4 program. We also reported at that time, we have received 3 applications to meet our requirement in regard to sediment removal. The 3 were submitted by Warren and Christine Hoover, 171 Stevens Road for 120.91 acres for conservation tillage with a 30 to 59% residue. Second was Nevin Burkholder, 134 Valley View Drive for 35.1 acres conservation tillage. And I do have listed the parcel numbers here for which ones they apply to, and that will be in the motions. And the third one is to Stephen Martin, 756 Gaiman School Road for 20.3 acres. The payment to, once verification is done and approved and compliance is achieved and we meet our goals, the total payment to Warren and Christine Hoover would be $18,136.50. To Nevin Burkholder would be $5,265. And to Stephen Martin would be $3,045. That total projected cost for the year would be $26,446.50. And that will eliminate 137,448 pounds of sediment from the stream here in the township. So in order to get this program moving and for 2022, we have 3 motions for the board to consider to essentially award these grant agreements, as I mentioned there, and you could read them, they're on the motion list, but I pretty much summed them up. And then that would trigger the beginning of the process for Team Ag to go out, do the verifications, and to make sure, also the grant agreement enables us to get the sign off so Team Ag can do that and go onto the property, do the measurements, do the verifications, and move forward with the program. Ken and Jeff or Sharon, anything else you want to add that I may have left out?
No, well, there's a validation process on the paperwork. You mentioned that, and that would include the mineral management plan where necessary, soil conservation plan on all properties. And I think those are the 2 main ones that we're looking for verification for. And yeah, as you said, Mike, this allows the process to start. Officializes the paperwork part of it. Yes, sir.
Doug Mack, I got a couple of questions before you guys vote on this. So this FS4 program is a grant of money from East Cocalico to the farmer, correct?
Correct, yep.
And the year 1 of this program is 2022.
Correct.
Okay, now I see Judy's here. I'm going to ask her a question. I know enough to be dangerous, but Judy, could you please explain ARPA as it relates to this program, any program that you're going to put money into? I understand it, and I'm going to say what I know, and you can please correct me. ARPA, as I understand it, is a one-time and done thing. It's not to be used continually. That's what I've understood. Can you correct me, or?
It's suggested that it not be used for programs, that will continue because, like you said, it's once and done. If you do programs with this money that are gonna be continuing, eventually you're gonna have to use tax dollars to pay to continue those programs, or you're going to have to end them. So it would be able to be used for 22 and 2023. And then after that, it would, if we continued, it would need to come from tax dollars.
Yeah, I think the advice there was, if a community is going to get an infusion of $1 million and they go and create a program that's going to annually cost them $300,000, that money is going to be used up. And then that community is going to have to deal with how are they going to cover those costs moving forward. So the encouragement is to, since you have a designated period of time to spend that money, to try and spend it on stormwater, water, sewer projects, but not maybe create a whole nother layer where you're hiring people to do things that you're going to have to fund down the road.
So the money, I think I understood. ARPA would pay for the first year, which is 2022. And since you're going to get another $500,000 supposedly in 2023, that will be funded also.
Yeah, we're going to get another $500,000 in 2022.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you're right.
and I believe we have through 2024 to
That would
allocate it, right?
2024 then would come out of the tax base.
Yeah, depending on where the program goes, there's, with the permitting from MS4, this right now is looking at projecting 2 years. There may be changes down the road with the MS4 permitting that we'll have to reassess what we're going to do next.
Okay. So at the last meeting, it was explained that I understood that this would be a 3-year program and everything was going to be coming out of ARPA. So that's not quite true. 2 years out of the 3 were. The third year would probably be taxpayer.
We still would have that ability to pay out of ARPA for that period of time until we run into that period where you can't use ARPA monies anymore.
And you just touched on something else in explaining this. You mentioned water and sewer. Since they're a separate entity, how do they get tied into the use of this money? Because what they have to deal with costs a lot more than what the township would. I mean, water and sewer systems, we all know, are terribly expensive. Any upgrades to the sewer plant, any upgrades to the water system, has that been looked into? Not that they don't get any of the money, I guess is my point.
Yeah, ultimately, that'll be a policy decision of the board. We've looked at and started to gather, as this first came out, all kinds of different projects that may be available there. It is water, sewer. It also covers stormwater. Obviously, the township has some big stormwater issues that we're trying to address. There have been discussion about, a list put together from the authority of some projects that they may look to approach the township for assistance with in this money, but ultimately the board will make that decision each year. I think we're trying to make sure we spend this money to get the biggest bang we can out of it, but also to make sure we're staying underneath our threshold, that we don't trigger a large cost for an audit because we're spending over a certain amount of money in federal monies each year. So the first year was spaced out to try and take advantage of some opportunities we have. Also, we were trying to be comfortable with the fact that the final regulations haven't really come out just yet at that time. So we didn't want to go and budget for 4 or 5 different things and find that maybe that had changed a little bit in regard to dynamics. So it's a way of making sure we're on pace to spend it for good projects, but also not get ourselves in a bind that we're ever going to have to return any money to the federal government.
Right. And just moving forward here, I got a couple other ones. At the last meeting, Jeff was asked the question by Ralph Buckles, where are the minutes of the meetings with the farmers? And I think you replied, there are none. Is that correct?
We had a meeting at Weaver's last year in March.
But you didn't take any minutes or no report?
It was an informational meeting for the farmers, talking about conservation, tillage, and other issues. No, there was no meeting minutes taken.
So
I was the only supervisor there, sir.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. So you don't have an audible trail of minutes for proceedings or handing out of public money. You have nothing to date.
Well, for an informational meeting with farmers, no, there was no meeting minutes taken.
Well,
Let me add to that. The meeting that we had then was before the program was designed. The meeting was simply going to the farmers and talking about conservation practices and trying to encourage them. The FS forest that exists now didn't exist yet, so there was no discussion of that in particular.
okay, so you had one meeting and then you developed this thing and you haven't had any meetings with the farmers since. I'm just curious how Mayor Boozel's gonna look at that when they audit the books. And they say, there's nothing in here to show how you're spending the money, who made the decision on who gets what, who set up the whole program. I mean, you don't have anything, there's no audit trail.
Well, Doug, as I said at the last meeting, my mother owns acreage in the UTB, and she's received multiple pieces of correspondence.
Right.
I mean, they had her name on the envelope, but then it was basically, near dear landowner or whatever. And she chose not to participate. But to say that there's nothing else, that is going on or whatever, the letters went out to those who were what I would call eligible to enroll in the program. And then they could make a decision of whether or not they wish to pursue that. That's my understanding. I've not been to a meeting either, but that's.
Yes, it was successfully advertised in the paper. Ken went to great lengths to mail out 60-some notices to the properties within the urbanized area that would be eligible. He even went, was it 3 different post offices, Ken?
Mm-hmm.
To make sure that they all got to the right post office where the corresponding property would be, in the hopes that they would all get to the property owners at the same time. Now, this was approved by the solicitor, set up on a first come, first served basis to try and create a fair situation with all those property owners.
Once we had sent those out, one of the things in the package was a letter of intent that if someone was interested, they needed to fill out the letter of intent and return it to the township. And the program specified that it was going to be on a first come, first served basis. In the end, we had 4 letters of intent for different properties, and the first 3 provided the acreage that we needed. So the 4th person in was informed that we had received enough acreage to complete the program, and that we weren't going to be able to use them this year. Keep in touch for later, but that's how the selection was done.
So you said 60 applications out or letters?
There were 60-some,
So,
more than
all
60.
right, plus or minus, and you got 4 back.
Mm-hmm.
Were those date stamped
Yes,
when they came in?
yes.
Okay. Well, that was good. And the presentation you gave to the, you said you gave the presentation?
No, it was a group. Team Ag was there presenting. I spoke for a short period of time. Well, there were several other conservation. There was a conservation farmer there, wasn't there, Ken? As well as I think the Conservation Service out of Lancaster sent someone out as well.
Well, and I'm asking some of these questions, just trying to protect you and Ken. Because, if there's a glitch in the system, some lawyer's gonna get hold of it, and they're gonna be asking the same questions I'm asking.
Prior to that meeting, letters were sent out. It was more than just the urbanized area, wasn't that, Ken?
Yes, the first set of letters for that meeting were sent out to all the ag properties.
That was a large number, wasn't it?
Yeah, somewhere close to 200.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it sounds as though, sounds like, I don't know, but it sounds like you might have your bases covered, but if you don't have I just find it hard to believe that you don't have an audible trail of anything, because you could get challenged on that. And what are you gonna say?
Well, it was.
Sam said this or you said that, there's no recording of anything. There's no anything.
It's recorded that it was advertised in the paper.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but not like these meetings where it's recorded either by written or by the cloud. And I can go back 2 years from now and say that, no, that isn't what RC said. He said something different. Here it is at 1 hour, 38 minutes and 20 seconds. I'm hoping you guys said the same thing to everybody each time you met with them.
Well, as Ken said, it was a program in formulation, and it wasn't finalized until the board voted on it and the letters were sent. There was how many conversations with a solicitor over this, Mike?
Yeah,
Many.
through two solicitors, and just even gone through getting that program together, getting it advertised, getting it sent out to everybody, having those come in and record it, the discussion to go with Team Ag at the public meeting and that action taken, and then now ultimately this discussion of the award being at the public meeting. At least it follows all the guidelines we need to do to make sure we're crossing off everything we have to.
And I've heard it a couple times, I won't drag this on, but the solicitor, is this firm or gentleman or lady an expert in the federal law, or were they just looking at it from the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed?
Yeah.
They were part of the formulation of the language from front to back of the grant.
Right. And again, just to make sure that we don't run into a situation that someone comes back and says you missed something. You know, it was a little bit different when you have a grant award coming from a municipality,
Right.
instead of a bid. The concern was initially, if it was bid, would some of the farmers not want to submit to it? So how do we make it so that ultimately we want to get that participation, want to get the benefits? I know Ken had prepared, just for a sort of comparison's sake, Ken had prepared an analysis looking at the cost of this program over 2 years, including the Team Ag fee and the payments to the farmers being about $63,000 to meet our requirements, versus if we had to do the two other pollutant reduction plan projects that the township was looking at $666,000. So you see the net impact there to the township of being able to save over $600,000 just doing this. And even to the point that it may be a benefit down the road for other municipalities to try and partner here who may not even have the opportunity to do some of these other projects.
And I'm not downplaying this or I'm just making sure, you know, I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm just a little concerned that it now becomes the taxpayer's burden to subsidize some farmer to do what he should have done right the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what bothers me. Sorry, but I had to say it. And I look at it, Jeff, as a conflict of interest with you. Well, you're the farmer that's out trying to round up other farmers.
I'm out answering questions, sir.
Well, but you and him are tied into this at the hip.
Yeah.
And you know, it could be looked upon as a conflict of interest.
I'm not participating, sir. I'm not eligible to
I
participate.
understand that.
My farm is not within the urban boundary.
But the comment was made just earlier that you sent letters out to everybody in all farmers.
Yes, and I got one of them back at that time.
Okay, again, could be tied
To
into.
come to an informational meeting.
But Doug, if as you filter through this, okay,
Yeah,
if there were only 4 letters of interest received
right.
and 3 of them got funded, I can't leave too many unhappy customers then. I mean,
No, I understand.
because any farmer, all he or she had to do was at least indicate interest to be considered.
Right.
And if there's only 4 farms in the entire township that raised their hand and 3 of them got funded, I think that's a success.
I'm not arguing with that. That isn't my point of discussion, isn't arguing with that, so I'm gonna let it go. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Could we do a motion there?
yeah, we haven't done a motion.
Thank you.
Somebody go ahead and do the motion.
All right, I would make a motion that we, let me get my little cheat sheets. To approve the Farmer Saving Soil Program, adopting settlement under FS4 Grant Award Agreement between East Cocalico Township and Warren and Christine Hoover at 171 Stevens Road, Stevens, PA 17578, totaling 120.91 acres for conservation tillage with a 30 to 59% residue on parcels. And it goes on to give the parcel numbers for a total grant award of $18,136.50.
Okay, we have a second? Okay, I'll second that. Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries.
Second motion, to approve the Farmer Saving Soil / Stopping Settlement FS4 Grant Award Agreement between East Cocalico Township and Nevin G. Burkholder, totaling 35.1 acres for conservation tillage with a 30 to 59% residue on the parcel numbers for a grant award of $5,265.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries.
Motion to approve the Farmer Saving Soil / Stopping Settlement FS4 Grant Award Agreement between East Cocalico Township and Stephen Martin of Game and School Road, totaling 20.3 acres for conservation tillage with a 30 to 90 to 59% residue on, and it gives the parcel numbers, for a total award of $3,045.
And I will make that motion, I'll just add, Greg, that's 756 Game and School.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, the motion carries. Okay. Unencumbered monies transfer.
Yeah, you have a resolution number 2021-16, which was prepared by the financial administrator, Judy Loomis, for the township, indicating that the township treasurer shall carry forward certain general fund unencumbered monies in the amount of $107,300 from the 2021 general fund budget to the 2022 general fund budget, as listed in the table on the motion. And the line item that we're moving this out of is General Fund 446, which is the MS4 line item that had a remaining balance of $474.24. My flipping those numbers around for the end of the year. So that 107,300 will balance out essentially the 2022 general fund budget. Anything else?
I'm gonna read those again, numbers. Just kidding.
In the right order? I've got a different pair of glasses on tonight. I don't know whose they are.
All right, I will make a motion to adopt Resolution 2021-16, authorizing the carrying forward of the general fund unencumbered monies in the amount of $107,300 from the 2021 general fund budget to the 2022 general fund budget to balance the 2022 general fund budget. Okay, so do I hear a second?
Yes, I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, department reports.
Yeah, just to follow up, at the last meeting, the Board of Supervisors approved Ritu to conduct the truck restriction studies for Wabash Road. They looked at one at Wabash at the intersection with South Line Road and Wabash with the intersections of the section of Wabash between S-272 and South Reamstown Road. And we have two studies that were prepared and that are here for the board's consideration tonight. The one at Wabash and South Line Road, the issue there was the eastbound Line Road trucks turning right on the southbound Wabash Road. If you recall, that's the telephone pole that gets hit on a regular basis and has had trucks stuck in that area, dragging rocks, causing problems. Due to the acute angle of those legs of the intersection, they're essentially saying a truck making the right turn has to severely encroach in either the opposing lanes in order to make the right turn or damage the adjacent property, striking the PP&L pole. The recommendation based off the study was that all trucks be restricted from turning right onto Wabash Road from Line Road. This is based on the classification of the roadway, the character of the neighborhood, and the inability of the truck to safely negotiate this turning radius. And let me see if I have, that's the other one. Oops, sorry. So essentially, this is the area, if for those of you familiar with what we're talking about here, and the pole being in this section here, this is showing how the trucks need to turn there in order to stay in that lane. So as long as the board is fine with those findings and don't have any questions, we would submit that down to PennDOT, and they would approve the placement of signs within the state right away. Essentially, we'd be taking down the sign that's there now, which is a weight restriction, and we'd be putting it just as no trucks, right turn. And then there'd be, we'd have to also modify our ordinance to reflect that, to make sure that if the police do issue a citation, it ties into the study as well as the correct ordinance there. So they did look, though, which was surprising. At one point, you remember, we were looking at both turns coming there, and they had indicated that when you're coming on Line Road from Denver and making a left onto Wabash, that turn can be made without impacting those properties. So that's why the recommendation based on the study was showing essentially that sign being posted in those areas to make sure people do not make a right, a truck does not make a right-hand turn onto there. That was kind of what we thought we were going to run into anyway. It's just now we have it weight restricted and we needed to do a study to confirm that. So that's the one component of, do we want to, the other issue with it is that telephone pole, or the PP&L pole, I'm sorry, that's there. The wooden pole that sits in about this area that is in, if you, I guess depending on the time of day when you look at it, it's in a different state of being scraped. Even the issues where they kind of banded together were scraped off as well. PP&L has asked for, they want to get rid of that pole and put up additional poles, one here on Wabash, one here on Line, and one across the street, if I can scroll up, over in this area here. The issue is they have some crossing lines there where the lines need to physically touch, so they can't get rid of those poles altogether. But their concern is, even as they were out drawing this up that day, the pole got hit again while they were out there. So to put another pole in there just seems to be not going to work. Now, they have to, the property owners, if you recall at the last meeting, and I did send them, I did leave them a message, but I didn't hear back from them in their defense, were opposed to additional poles being out there. I just don't know to keep putting a pole there and keep having it getting knocked down or broken in half is going to be just a continual issue for us all together. So the township, really, out of these 3 poles that are being proposed, the township, if the property owners did not want to grant PP&L the additional right-of-way, the township can do that. PP&L can apply for it through us, and we could give it in the, allow them to put the pole in our right-of-way, so that on Wabash Road. But then they also will have to get from PennDOT approval to put those other poles on Line Road and on, up in this area here, to be able to meet their requirements for those 3 lines. So this part here deals first with the signage, but ultimately we still have that tag, that pole that's getting beat up quite a bit, and that's PP&L's proposal for how they at least eliminate that pole being struck and knocked down and having to be replaced.
So they couldn't be trenched.
No, they said the wires need to physically touch. And so if you go out that intersection, you'll see where they cross. They are touching each other in order to, and I'm not an electrical engineer. I'm going to take their word for it, right?
They're piggybacking off of it.
So that's the one component. Unless there's any objections or if there's any questions, I'll try to answer those. But if the board is comfortable with that, we can at least submit this part to PennDOT to get the process started, to get the approval, and then we would have to look at eventually that ordinance change to reflect the new regulations there in that intersection.
This change of signage help you on an enforcement end on this?
So I believe so, yeah. If there's a study that's been done, absolutely.
I think we need to move forward with it because.
Well, yeah,
this is-
I mean, the truck enforcement is much easier than a weight. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yes, sir.
Quick question, Brian Wise. Are those, Mike, are those the proposed signages right there?
Yes.
Okay. Chief, as far as gross vehicle weight versus that signage,
If I looked at
you gotta
that
get some
sign,
teeth into it.
I looked at that sign and I would ask if there's another truck sign as opposed to an obstruct to be there. So that concerns me a little bit. So I don't know if we can reach out to the engineers and just say, can be no trucks, the words no trucks, or however they deem it, or a picture of a truck that's more than what looks like a common delivery truck.
So you're saying not a box truck, but a.
Yeah, and I don't know if they exist, I don't know if that covers it, that's fine, but I wanna make it as clear to the individuals who are making that right turn, who obviously can't make the turn, but still make the turn, but they're not supposed to do that.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Well, you either gotta have GVW or length. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's the GVW that we're going after here, and I don't think it's necessarily the length, I think they're just prohibiting all trucks.
Right, because they're indicating even a box truck, for the most part, is going to, making that turn, will not be able to make that turn without going into the other lane.
Right, and
So-
then, I think I heard somebody say about a school bus. So,
Yeah, school bus is going to be as long as a truck.
Yes, sir.
Alan Maxwell, I've seen signs like that with just a little tagline on them saying over 10,000 pound GVW. So that allows the ups trucks and FedEx and all those to be able to use that road. But any kind of truck over 10,000 GVW is gonna include your dump trucks, your box trucks, and tractor trailers.
Mike, that's not what they did the study on.
No, they did
They
study.
did not do the study on weight whatsoever.
Right now, we do have a weight restriction out there. There was some question as to whether that study was done to put those up there, and whether, obviously, those signs are being posted now and they're not being followed. So this was the study to prohibit all trucks from turning down onto that, making a right onto Wabash.
And again, like the chief said, just a sign above it that says all trucks.
Now, this is, I can ask the engineer, this is the standard PennDOT sign that they had proposed. So if there's a modified version, and the interesting thing was, PennDOT and both the engineer had recommended don't put except local deliveries, because they just bypass that altogether. Everybody's making a local delivery, you know. So that was why this was kind of shrunk down here. But whether there's I'll ask John Schick tomorrow whether there's a sign.
That's a standard sign, that's fine, I mean, just so the enforcement is there.
Right.
I just wanna make it as clear as possible to these individuals as we can.
Yes, sir.
Steve Brubaker. So, if that's a sign for no trucks at all on Wabash, how the trucks then turning that, how are they gonna get to Four Seasons? Will they go down Garden Spot Road, or what's?
You're still
proposed?
able to come to Four Seasons from 272.
Correct.
You're just not allowed to make that turn onto Wabash if you're a truck in that area there.
Okay, so you might have some trucks coming that route, is what I'm saying. They might not all go down 272.
Yeah, the trucks coming, what do you mean? I'm sorry.
So the trucks coming down Line Road.
Right.
They're not all trucks that access Four Seasons are gonna go down 272.
Right.
So in that instance, is there something to redirect the trucks instead of turning that way to, say, hook up with Garden Spot?
Is Garden Spot that's not an issue with the truck turning there, is it, or is it mostly they're going through at, what's that road there?
They're coming
Shenango.
out of Effort Township.
Mhm.
They're on
They've
Line Road,
already
is
passed
actually
Garden Spot.
Stevens Road.
They've already passed the garden.
A lot of times they're coming off the 322, turning left to coming onto Academy and Line Drive that way coming in.
Yeah, the morning I saw the one tractor trailer get stuck there, he was coming, he came off of Shennick Road and came out and then tried making a right, and he was stuck. And then he ended up backing up after about 10 minutes and going into Denver and turning around and coming back out through.
I guess my question is, are there any trucks heading to Four Seasons coming down Line Road?
Yeah, I think they all,
From
for the
Shennick.
most part.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I think that's what we're
So-
trying to prevent them turning right. So what I'm hoping is they go, I don't mean to interrupt, but if they go past that intersection, I'm hoping their GPS recalculates and takes them the way they need to go. Like I stood out there and told the truck, go to the light, make a right, next light is 272, make a right, and you'll eventually get there. So I'm hoping that's what their GPS does.
So, but Garden Spot is further, what would that be? North, west. That would be further west. That would be the place to turn, because
Don't
that,
want to encourage trucks to go up Garden Spot Road because that railroad is really humped there. And their landing gear will catch, or the drop decks are gonna catch. Now you're gonna create a situation there.
And it narrows it.
It narrows very much there.
Yeah, so in the study, there was no requirement or consideration on placing signs before or after that would need to redirect trucks on any other roadways. It was just prohibiting trucks from turning onto this roadway.
Yes, sir.
Terry Hawkins, what is the cost of this to the township?
The studies were capped at $1,800 that are to be completed, and then the township would be responsible for the signs and the maintenance of the sign. So if a sign got knocked down, we'd have to replace the sign. Otherwise, we'd put the sign there and just maintain it.
So you have $1,800 plus the cost of the signs
Yep.
so far. This is gonna be really ugly, what I'm gonna say, but why don't you put spikes in concrete? And the truck will stay away from there. It's that simple.
Well, we're gonna keep everybody safe, right? I guess that would be the encouraging.
You got signs up, no trucks are supposed to be turning there. Okay, put a sign right below it. Spikes are buried in concrete. If you can't make the turn, you're gonna have to pay for the fine. And you're gonna pay for tires and everything else.
A little later, we're gonna talk about our insurance renewal, and I don't know if I wanna do that at that point in time, so.
I think that's gonna create quite the liability for the municipality itself.
On a public road,
Yeah, public road deliberately incurring damage to the property.
we're talking about the driveway to a parking lot of the Capitol, a different issue.
Yeah.
But on a public road,
This has been going on for quite some time, Lee.
yes,
Um,
Yeah.
So if the board's comfortable, we can proceed with this part, and then I can also, if you're comfortable with the PP&L component, obviously they still have to work through PennDOT to get approval for PennDOT to allow it, but we can at least let them know from our end that if they can get PennDOT on board, that might be a nice alternative for having that pole being hit on a regular basis. The new pole is going to go in soon, and I mean, what's the over and under? Probably 2 weeks before something scrapes it.
Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah. I was trying to be very Christmassy with that. I was hoping to get it to 2022, but,
So, Mike, I will make the motion to
Okay.
proceed as outlined. And do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
So we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, the second component is we also studied the intersection and the section of Wabash Road from Reamstown Road down to 272 in this area here. So I'll try to make it a little bit bigger. This one was a little bit different. Right now it's also weight restricted coming off of there. The engineer's study had found that the westbound Reamstown Road trucks over 30-foot long turning right onto northbound Wabash Road, and the southbound Wabash Road trucks 30-foot long turning right on the westbound Reamstown Road, that they are the issue. So they are recommending that all trucks over 30 feet in length be restricted on Wabash Road from North Reading Road to Reamstown Road. They showed here the signs that would need to go up both on at Reamstown Road and on 272, replacing the current signs that are weight restricted. I would like to see, since this isn't really as important, not important, but a pending issue like we're seeing at the other one. My only concern is I did send information out to some of the businesses there, and there may be a question about someone with a 30-foot long truck accessing one of the businesses in this section. So I'd like to think maybe we can hold off there, get that straightened out before we do that and cause anybody any problems. We have the study done. If we can confirm it, then we can move ahead. If not, that's something we can do without holding up the Wabash issue in Line Road.
That end of Wabash is fairly close to my house, fairly close to Downtown. And we see it gets tapped from time to time. But as I said at the last meeting, I think the weight limit sign was put in when that was still a steel bridge. Now it's a fairly robust concrete bridge, I think. And I'm not even sure if you go to 30 foot, you're going to, what do you do to a milk truck?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to talk to the neighbors there because they're
Right.
trucks and milk trucks.
Right.
So you're gonna have to go by local deliveries only.
Well, you got milk, well, but see, that's what we ran into over at the other end of Wabash, because to that driver, it was a local delivery. He only had to go down there to, half a mile or whatever.
And they're probably permitted at 90,000 also.
But I think it would affect the dairy farmer there and Zimmerman.
And that's the concern. I didn't want to do that. This isn't as pressing. I think the other concern is that was all lumped together with this weight restriction, but there's a question about the weight restriction study, which would make enforcement difficult.
They should be able to make the turn on the Wabash from 272. When that intersection was redone, so to speak, it's been opened up a fair amount.
Yeah, the issues where as I'm showing up on the board here, are really the Wabash and Reamstown Road turning. And I guess as they're doing that, just figuring that if you're gonna have a truck coming down there that can't make that turn, then that's why you're trying to post it down at 272. But my concern is obviously we don't wanna create a problem and then make it even more difficult for some businesses that are operating in there. So we'll kind of hold off on that component of it for the time being. And then the last part of this is I did also reach out to Four Seasons, and there was the recommendation for a sign to be posted out where the trucks come out on Wabash Road, and one on the Four Seasons side, one across the street, saying trucks no left turn, so that those tractor trailers coming out of there are all going to be directed to turn right and then go out off of 272, as opposed to come up and then try and deal with the issue at Wabash and Line Road. There have been minimal, most of the problems have been the right turns off of Line Road, but there have been complaints of truckers coming and trying to make that right turn and extending out and causing some issues there. So I did send that notice to Four Seasons just to make sure if they had any comments or issues that they could let us know. But at least, I believe there's a sign there now on the Four Seasons property.
Yeah.
These would be ones that would be out on the roadway that would show a trucker pulling out that they have to turn right. Okay? That's all I had.
Okay, the hot water heater.
Yeah, we have a hot water heater in the municipal building downstairs in, what's that, the boiler mechanical room? As we recently were dealing with some heating issues, the one day where the heat didn't turn on, and then the next day where it was probably 95 degrees, the heat went on too high. Haller come in, done some work, replaced some parts, but noticed that the hot water heater, which is pretty old, looked like it was starting to leak. It's a 75-gallon hot water heater. So trying to anticipate not wanting to come in one day and not having any hot water and that leaking, I asked for an estimate. The replace it at a 75-gallon, the estimate came in at $8,000, which was like a significant cost, obviously. And I'm not in the hot water heater business, but that seemed to be very high. So we talked internally, and I think Chief had mentioned, well, can't we look at seeing if we can go with a smaller one? So we looked at a 50-gallon and got a price from CPH, Cocalico Plumbing and Heating. They came in at $3,990, and Haller came in for a 48-gallon, and the model they make was $6,200. So that includes all components of removing, draining the other one, installing a new one. We don't have, it's not leaking actively now. I was down there today and looked, didn't see water coming out of it. I asked one of the technicians, have they ever stopped leaking? And he was like, no, that usually doesn't happen. So it could have been some other things that where it was leaking out of, but both of them that had looked at it had said this thing has seen its useful life and it's going to go at some point. So not that I want to buy this now to replace it, but I guess my goal might be to get the board to authorize the replacement of it up to a certain cost. If we know we can do this for $39.90, so we do it for up to $4,000. So in the event that tomorrow morning it goes and we don't meet again until January, we could take care of that component.
Now, Mike, just, I noticed something in these quotes also. I think the other difference here is these are power vented hot water heaters.
Right.
These are power vented. So they're gas hot water heaters, they're not straight vents. So that's, the power vented hot water heaters are actually more money because you're going on an angle on the venting and they've got to start. The process is they start the vent first, then fire, so that it's properly venting the CO2 out.
And the vent goes, I think it was 26 or 30 feet out into the garage and out the side wall. So it doesn't vent right outside the boiler room. So there is
That's why it's
some
power
PVC piping that needs to occur.
And I mean, it's a good point. I just have no point of reference for what a hot water heater costs. And when I saw 8,000, I thought, boy,
But what adds to the cost is the power vent on the type of heater it is.
So the 50-gallon was designed that could, I mean, we're not really showering here, we're just washing hands, and we don't need the 75-gallon one as well. I did talk to them about, they were talking about maybe not having a water heater there at all, and being able to, I guess it's a different system that would go in, but they said by the time we got the water hot enough, we're probably done washing our hands already if we did it that way, and it wouldn't work for the building, so.
Yes, sir.
I'd recommend we quote tankless.
That was what he said,
Water
the tankless, they said, wouldn't get warm enough by the time we were done washing our hands.
I would contest that. We just replaced our 50-gallon electric at home with a tankless, and we get hot water within seconds of turning the tap on. Shower, laundry, sinks, no issues with hot water in any of them running at the same time. This thing is amazing, and it was less than $4,000 installed.
I think the issue that, because I was down there for one of the escorting you quote, and I'm no expert, please don't take it that way, but he said that to go from one end of the building to the other in reference to that, that's why they were recommending a water heater. But that's.
Yeah, both independently, both companies had thrown that out, was that you're just not gonna get warm water when you're doing it. So maybe because of the size of I don't know.
We go from opposite ends of the house, which I'm not sure about the run, but it's probably similar in our house that we have. And in our bathroom upstairs, it's just a matter of seconds till we have hot water. So I think it's worth looking at cost-wise and efficiency-wise.
No, I'm just, stating out loud, I think the jury's still out on the tankless versus the straight tank. The ones we built with tankless, 3 years later, they're swapping them out and they're going back to the tank. So I think you either love it or you hate it, or I'm not sure what the difference is there. My experience with it. Thank you. Okay, so we can't be without hot water, because I think that affects our CL. I don't think you can have a certificate of occupancy without hot water in a commercial building. So what I'd like to do is I would make a motion that we go with Cocalico Plumbing and Heating with a not-to-exceed price of $3,990 per their proposal, proposal number 2627. It's 20627, dated December 10, 2021. Any other questions? Okay, do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that. We don't want a failure in the flood.
I will second it, but you see, they make the proposals only good for 30 days. Bottom left.
Like, if I'm not mistaken, there's money left over in the building repair budget, in my budget, which I think could potentially.
Yeah.
So we're locking in the price.
Yeah.
That.
That's a good point.
I'll find it.
You're afraid of that inflation number on parts, aren't you?
3 times. 3 times next year. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries.
Just to make everyone aware real quick, when we were down there, we were talking about, they put a pressure reducing valve from public water coming in the building, because the other one was not working. So they did that, and then there is a blue pressure tank in the garage. It's pretty significant size. They turned that off, so the water was coming in, filling that tank. So you also have the pressure from that, water coming in from the outside. He did not turn that pressure tank back on, and then we realized pretty quickly throughout the building that there was not enough pressure in the building to properly flush the toilets. So they turned the tank back on, they work fine. I talked to the individual who was here from Cocalico Plumbing and Heating, asking if that can eventually go, if they put a booster pump on the wall next to where the water comes in. He said that's not going to work. His recommendation for something this size would be not to do it, and said that you're going to be replacing the blue pressure tank in the garage when that one goes, and it will eventually go, to maintain the pressure in the building. He said that's the easiest, probably the best way to do it. It's working fine now. I'm just making you aware that those tanks do go. So we may be facing something else, so we can flush the toilets too.
Is there a date on that tank?
Nobody
when they set there.
Yeah, we couldn't necessarily move all the stuff that was surrounding it at that point, so.
That could be a secret.
Okay, the last item I wanted to just update you, it's not an action item, but the property at 261 Weaver Road, the farmhouse that was a barn that was demolished, we had discussed on November 4th and sent them a letter that they need to bring this into compliance with the conditions that were listed in the letter from the Historic Preservation Trust by December 15th, and I'm happy to announce that they have done that. Exeter 41 Weaver LP, the owner out of Conshohocken on that property, did send multiple correspondence to the zoning officer apologizing for their oversight, said they did not do that on purpose, but we're sorry. They provided the documentation that they contracted with a salvage company to salvage the materials. That included some of the brick items, timber and brick that were removed and repurposed. The bricks were being reused at 78 Weaver Road. Repair a chimney, fireplace on the patio, fireplace in the summer house. Also additions to the summer house, log cabin, addition to the summer house and log cabin on site. and a brick to use as a walkway for ADA accessibility to the property there. So they provided that documentation, which was requested. They also indicated as a demonstration of their sincere regret and as a token of good faith, they made a donation of $4,500 to the Historical Preservation Trust of Lancaster County. That donation we asked to be further the Historical Preservation Trust efforts to educate and protect other historic properties in Lancaster County. So just as an update, since we meet today and it's after that day, they have accomplished what we've asked them to do.
Fair enough.
Question.
Quick
Yes.
question for Mike.
Sorry,
What
sir,
was
Jim.
the-
Name.
Brian Wise.
Thank you.
What was the update on Eagle, or I should say, what was the date listed on that letter that they had for Eagle disposal? Was that December 31st, or? I know they were it was like October, November, December for every other.
When they were gonna go every other, yeah.
Right. So where are we going after that? Because we're here.
Yeah, they had submitted their response back where they were going to collect recyclables every other week, and the board noted that, but I don't think we took any additional action beyond that. So I think it was left that if people were not happy with what their corrective action plan they put in place, then people could choose to go with another hauler to provide
We
those.
listed those in
And we
the
did list
newsletter.
them, right, yeah.
Okay. Somehow I remember December 31st, or, because I have to look at it at home, that they.
Yeah, and I could pull the letter, I don't know off the top of my head what the letter that came back
I think
from
they were
them
gonna
is.
have some kind of anything, what the next step is.
Right.
I didn't know if anything came in here lately or not.
No, nothing, there's been no update either here or at Denver about it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Mhm.
Okay, police department, reports, chief.
So, several things happened today, one of them I'll talk about in a minute, but while we were on that incident, I was made aware by the school resource officer of a threat, non-descriptive threat that's being circulated on social media, specifically TikTok, warning of school violence on Friday, December 17th. So we received information from the intelligence unit of the Pennsylvania State Police that there is a no specific threat to any school in Pennsylvania. I think it's more of a nationwide thing, and it was just a general thing circulating on TikTok. We're aware of it. The school district has sent out a letter this afternoon. I'm aware also recurring technology centers sent out letters to the parents to make them aware this is a non-specific threat. We are aware of it and taking action that's necessary. I won't go into that action, but we are aware, and I know it's something that no parent wants to hear, but we will be taking care of our school district and our buildings in regards to this. Again, I think there's going to be many police departments across the country doing the same thing. So we are aware. I just wanted to put that out there to make sure everyone knows that. We had an incident this afternoon in Reamstown where an individual was on West Church Street, rolled his car, went back on the wheels. He had his child in the car, luckily belted. He continued driving into Reamstown. I believe the car became disabled in the area North Reamstown Road. An officer saw him, he fled, leaving the child behind. We then began searching for him. We had the assistance of the Effort Police Department and the Lancaster County Sheriff's Department K-9 unit that came up, and we set a perimeter. Once the K-9 was there, they were able to find the individual laying in a large area of tall grass in someone's backyard. He was taken into custody, and he is currently being housed on a detainer from State Parole. So that was the incident that occurred in Reamstown today. I know there was a lot of talk, does it have anything to do with the school? What I just spoke about, the Reamstown Elementary School was locked down for a short period of time until they could make arrangements for the walkers to get transportation, and that they could secure the buses. Eric went over, or Officer Fisher went over and secured all transportation, and the kids, they went off lockdown and the kids were dismissed. So it came to a resolution where no one was hurt, no officers were hurt, and like I said, the person is in the custody of state parole at this point. So that's what occurred today. Moving on to some better things. I received 2 letters of retirement intentions, one on November 8th and one on December 6th. These letters, I think the 2 officers may have gotten together when they wrote their letters because they're very similar, but I will read them. Dear East Cocalico Township Board of Supervisors, please consider this letter as notification of my intent to retire as a police officer with East Cocalico Township Police Department. I started my career January 20th, 1997, and will have proudly served the department and the community for 25 years. My last day of employment with the township will be January 21st, 2022. It has been an honor and privilege to serve the department and the Cocalico community for my entire career in law enforcement. I am fortunate to have served alongside other excellent officers, as well as an outstanding support staff during my tenure here. I am certain the department will continue to provide excellent service to the community as it grows and moves into the future. Sincerely, Keith Neff. The second letter is from Officer Michael Firestone, very similar, but Dear East Cocalico Township Board of Supervisors, please consider this letter as notification of my intent to retire as a police officer with the East Cocalico Township Police Department. I started my career on January 15th, 1995, and will have proudly served the department and the community for 27 years. My last day of employment with the township will be January 15th, 2022. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve the department and the Cocalico community for my entire career in law enforcement. I am fortunate to have served alongside other excellent officers as well as outstanding support staff during this time, my time here. I am certain the department will continue to provide excellent service to the community as it grows and moves into the future. That's signed Patrolman Michael Firestone. So I would ask for a motion to accept those retirement intention letters, one being the last day of January 21st, 2022 for Officer Neff, and one being January 15th, 2022 for Officer Firestone.
I'd like to make a motion that we have received letters of retirement from Officers Firestone and Officer Neff. We accept their retirement. We thank them heartily for their service to this community and wish them well and whatever else he has in state for them going forward.
I will second that. Motion and a second. Questions?
And just as an addendum to the motion, Officer Firestone, final day will be January 15th of 2022, and Officer Neff, January 21st of 2022.
Motion second, in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
So those 2 officers were kind enough to help the department in offering those letters now instead of waiting into January. And the Board of Supervisors authorized me to conduct interviews and start the hiring process to replace those veteran officers. We have completed 2 background checks on the top 2 candidates. And I am asking for a conditional offer of employment for Brandon Eberly with the East Cocalico Township Police Department. Mr. Eberly would be hired as a level 1 patrol officer with a starting salary of $26.76 per hour, and with a start date of January 3rd, 2022. I know that is before the other officers retire, but it will help getting 3 weeks basically of training, 2 weeks, 3 weeks under their belt.
How long is the PTO program?
14 weeks.
14 weeks.
Yeah, so this will help us to get them out of the administrative part of the hiring the first 2 weeks and get them out on the street quicker. So I would ask if there could be a motion for that individual. for a conditional offer of employment.
Chief, if you don't mind, can you describe the current environment right now in trying to find qualified candidates?
We put out to, that we were hiring potentially 3, because I believe there may be another retirement of 25 years of service in May, with 3 openings, 2 definite and 1 potential. We had 8 interviews. We would have normally had 25, 30. When I was hired a long time ago, there was 190 people sitting in the cafeteria of Williamstown Elementary School. Things have changed. The dynamic has definitely changed in this day and age. And after sitting through the Chiefs meeting on Wednesday, we are not the only ones. We are, in my opinion, very lucky to have these 2 individuals. I will offer them the conditional offer if approved tonight and hope that they take it, which I believe they will, but I hope they will. But that is how minimal it is right now in candidates. It's my understanding that the current class at Harrisburg Area Community College, there were several what's called pre-service individuals, and Harrisburg City walked in and hired them all because they're ready to. So.
What's that doing for the department's incentives wise?
There's going to be some stiff competition coming up in reference to that. Whether it's sign-on bonuses that were talked about by the Attorney General, with some chiefs in Lancaster County at one point, it was discussed, to paying off student loans, whatever that might be, but it's going to get even more competitive than it is right now.
One final question. Forecast wise, what is your profession discussing? Is this, there's no end in sight right now, or it's just a bump?
No, I think there's different discussions on recruitment, on training, on not lowering standards just because we're in a predicament right now, which we did not lower standards, and I don't plan to. No intention of that whatsoever. But I am hoping that with the passage of time, the political climate, and the thoughts of some against police will change, and maybe that will help.
Thank you.
What was the second?
The second individual, as for a conditional offer of employment to Shane Johnson with East Cocalico Township Police Department. Mr. Johnson will be hired as a level 1 patrol officer, starting salary of $26.76 an hour, with a start date also of January 3rd. I will say Mr. Everly graduated from the academy, I'm gonna get the date wrong, I think it was the 13th, and Mr. Johnson graduates on Monday. So they're moving right in.
Pack or Reading or?
Mr. Everly went to Mansfield because he graduated from Mansfield University, and Mr. Johnson is currently in the Reading Academy.
Reading Academy.
Local folks at all, or?
Mr. Everly is from the Stevens area, and Mr. Johnson is from the Akron area.
I would so move that we authorize Chief to offer Brandon Everly and Shane Johnson conditional offers of employment.
Yeah, I will second that. Okay, we have a motion and second. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries.
Thank you. And I have nothing further in my report. I took long enough.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
That, I will tell you, Chief, I have my grandchildren this afternoon to do our annual decorate, when they decorate the tree together. And I have one at Reedstown, and he was going over with me what's involved in lockdown in the eyes of a 5th grader. And it was interesting to hear. It was interesting.
Okay, Director of Community Development.
It's not having a big break this week.
Okay.
I haven't been here.
No,
It's the
thank
last
you.
meeting, pretty much.
Okay, Financial Administrator.
Yes, good evening. I have a lot for you this evening. Okay, so I do have the budget status report and the balance sheets to present. These are as of November 30th, 2021. As you can see, the revenue is currently in total $292,432 over budget, which is a good thing. From December 1st to December 16th, we have received another $142,642 in receipts. I do have a motion, or I'm proposing a motion. If you look at the line for the Local Tax Enabling Act 511, which basically transferred or translate into the real estate transfer taxes. At November 30th, we were $188,643 over budget. In December, we did receive the final receipt for the year, and we will end the year over budget $244,237 for that line item. In, I believe it was August, we had one property transfer in the amount of $241,080. That was for an industrial property that borders East Cocalico and, or it straddles East Cocalico Township in Denver Borough. In the past, when we had a large receipt like this, we transferred that money to the Capital Reserve Fund. And I'm making a recommendation that we do so with this receipt before the end of the year. So I'm recommending a motion that we transfer $241,080 from the general fund to be placed in the Capital Reserve Fund to be used for future capital purchases.
And I will make that motion. Do we have a second?
Yes, I will second that.
Okay, motion and second. Any questions, comments? Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries. Okay, next item.
Okay, continuing with the income statement, or I'm sorry, the budget status report. We are also currently under expenses for the general fund by $577,000. We still have 1 month of health insurance premiums to pay. We still also have one payroll that will go through. I anticipate that will probably be about $450,000 under expenses. So with our overage in revenue and our being under expenses, we probably will come out with increasing our fund balance of about $850,000. Taking off that $241,000 will be about what, $600,000 that we will increase our fund balance going into 2022. Okay, on to the balance sheets. To prepare for the 2021 audit, I would like to recommend some motions to clear up interfund balances due between funds. We did have some bills that were paid from other funds, from the general fund checking account. So now at the end of the year, as some housekeeping, we need to pay those monies back. So I have 5 motions to recommend. The first one is a motion to transfer $25,767.66 from the Univest Recreation Fund account to the Ephrata National Bank General Fund account. This is reimbursement for the construction of the skate park and modifications needed to the new playground.
And I will make that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second, any questions? Okay, motion and second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, the next one is a motion to transfer $120.85 from the Ephrata National Bank Light Fund account to the Ephrata National Bank General Fund account. And this is for reimbursement of tax collector payroll.
Again, I'll make that motion. Second?
I'll second. I don't know what tax collector payroll is.
It's the commission that we pay the tax collector. So if he collects.
But it's not payroll, they're an elected official. And they receive the commission from the taxes they collect.
Right, but we still pay it through payroll. He'll receive a W-2.
So we post that to payroll,
We do,
okay?
yes.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions? So we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, the next motion is for $109.40 for the same thing, but for the hydrant fund. So it's $109.40 from the Ephrata National Bank Hydrant Fund to the general fund, and that is also to cover tax collector commissions.
I will make that motion.
And I will second that. So we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, the next one is a motion to transfer $4,074.50 from Ephrata National Bank Traffic Impact Fund bank account to the Ephrata National Bank General Fund. This is reimbursement for 2021 invoices paid from the general fund for engineer and legal services performed on behalf of the Traffic Impact Fund, net of receipts for traffic impact fees paid.
I'll so move.
Okay, and I will second that. Motion and second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed,
none, motion carries.
And the last one is a motion to transfer $8,999.70 from the Univest ARPA Fund bank account to the Ephrata National Bank General Fund. This is reimbursement for 2021 invoices to Custom Computer for the purchase of laptop computers for staff to be able to work from home more securely.
And I will make that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, and the last thing that I'd like to let you know about is we had a meeting with Kilmer this morning. Kilmer does our liability insurance. When we did our 2022 budget, we had to use estimates for the liability insurance because the renewal wasn't ready yet. And this morning we got our final numbers, and I'm happy to report that even though we estimated a 15% increase in our insurance premiums, most of them came in flat at the same rate as they were in 2021. The one noticeable difference was for the cybersecurity policy. Previously, we had our policy written by Great American, and they stopped writing cybersecurity policies. Apparently, this is going on a lot in the insurance industry. So we do have to go with a new carrier. The premium came in comparable at $3,640 for the year, but our deductible increased from $10,000 to $25,000. And another requirement they had is that we cannot pay by check, we have to pay by credit card. So that will probably happen in January,
A credit card?
by credit card or by bank draft. Those are the only payments they'll accept. So in total, overall, of the different insurance lines, we budgeted $32,006 more than what we need for liability insurance.
I said, we'll never pay that invoice because no one wants to click on that that email, because we're afraid that we're gonna open up, it's gonna be spam, so we'll be behind on paying that invoice.
It'll be.
And then we'll have a cybersecurity.
Exactly, so
The
we're,
first claim.
don't wonder why they're not being paid.
Deductible from 10 to 25.
Yes.
Says I know.
There's a lot of activity in cyber.
That's essentially what he
crime
said,
right now.
is just what the
It's
amount
out
of
of
activity we're
control.
seeing. Yep.
That's why.
Do we have a credit card? I mean, they want a credit card. I thought we
No,
rather low.
the payment, meaning that the premiums have to be paid electronically, not the 25,000. We're gonna pay, for the year, it's 30, what's it, 32, 36?
Yeah, I believe we went with the 30.
So we can't send them a check, we gotta pay electronically.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure they'll take that 25 any way they can.
It won't be long before we have no checks to issue anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody doing it.
Our limit's good.
All right, so that's all I have unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Roadmaster.
Good evening. All right, so I just have a few items to kind of give updates on tonight, as well as ask for a motion. Bathroom at the highway shed, this bathroom project will be done by Monday, December 20th, 2021 by Evident Elite Renovations. New loader broom bristles have been ordered and delivered to the shop. Road crew will install these on the loader broom. This is an all poly broom that will go on the front of the loader broom. So this will eliminate any metal bristles falling off during the sweeping process. We kind of ran into that issue on some of the local roads when we swept the last few times. Road crew has completed the 206 North Reamstown Road project. This work consisted of installing a new M-top inlet, 20-foot section of pipe, as well as a DW end wall. Road crew also paved section of parking lot from the new M-top to the end wall. Roadmaster has been in constant contact with private property contractor B&G Excavating to work together to get this project done. I was out on site today is when we actually did the blacktop and sealed the blacktop that we had done. They have a little touch up dirt work and basically reseeding of the stabilization. But other than that, that project is pretty well wrapped up. Roadmaster has been in contact with UGI as well as taking pictures of the work that they are doing in the Rose Hill development. They are going in there and replacing some faulty keys, just for safety precautions and a maintenance issue. And then, so I just wanted to bring to the board's attention, I have a new truck in the budget for 2022. After speaking with the sales representative that I've been working with to kind of work out details for this truck, just have a couple quick bullet points that I'd like to go over. Ford isn't taking any more orders for 2022. Pricing for 2023 has not been released yet. Dodge is off of CoStars. Chevy is available. All of our trucks and fleet are in yellow color. That is not an option unless we order 14 to 16 units. White is an option. That's white is my preference. Moving forward. The water and sewer departments, they are in white trucks already. We would transition the yellow color out as we get new trucks or inventory. They're a lot more accessible moving forward. And nowadays, you get what you get and you grab whatever is available. And I just wanted to kind of give those bulletin points on that specific truck. just, I'm hoping to get approval at the next POS meeting to order this truck and move forward. And then last thing on my list is the electrical panel update. You guys should have 2 quotes, one from Tyler Victorn, Victorn Electric, and Epinet for a new 200 amp service for the highway shed. Today about 4:30 p.m. I received a phone call from Epinet, and he actually pulled out his quote for that project. He has some personal family issues going on, so he does not have the time to get that project done once his bathroom is wrapped up. So in front of you, you should have an estimate from Victorn Electric for the new 200 amp service in the amount of $3,500 that I would like to get a motion to award that project to Victorn Electric.
Right, so question for you.
Yes, sir.
For members of the public that have not gone out to purchase a new vehicle in the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
Yeah.
6 months. So this has finally hit also. The lack of inventory, the lack of production, the lack of the extended lead times. It's finally hit even the municipal products.
Even the municipal products, even the Chevy in a white color, he's not even sure exactly when we'll be able to get that vehicle if that is approved.
Okay, that was my next question. Are they actually committing a delivery date? Because
no delivery date at this time.
Okay, that's exactly what I expect with what's going on in the industry right now.
Right.
The colors I understand, because you get what you get right now.
Right.
Take it or leave it, or you don't get a vehicle.
Mm-hmm. And for the record, I don't know, even in 2023, I mean, what's the guarantee moving forward just after this year? You know, as far as the color availability or anything like that.
I bought a new vehicle about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Been trying to do that since April. And the dealer got in a truckload of Honda Pilots. I had a Pilot I want to replace with a Pilot. That's not an endorsement. But they got in a truckload of Pilots. Called me that day, went up, bought one that night. By 48 hours later, the entire truckload had been purchased. Because there's no inventory out there. I guess, whether you go to yellow or white, I mean, part of me likes yellow. It distinguishes us from the sewer water, and I don't know that we're trying to blend. But I guess I would say mop stakes, whether it's yellow or white or coal black or whatever. Does it meet the specs of what you want and will it do the job that you want it to do? And I guess color would be way down on my list.
Absolutely.
Well, just noticing in quotes here, with additional equipment, it does say paint solid and Wheatland yellow. What's the feedback on that?
That's if the availability would be with the yellow, and the yellow is basically unavailable unless we are ordering it's available if you're ordering the 14 to 16 units.
All right.
It's a custom order. In today's market, that's a pure custom order.
No. Yeah.
So
Like I said, I just wanted to get that out there so you guys are aware of this moving forward, that,
The other thing I would caution you about, or you probably know this, is go up to Levan's in Reading. He's got hundreds of municipal trucks sitting there. They can't get the bodies to put on those municipal trucks. So just because we get a delivery date on the truck, it does not necessarily mean we're gonna get the delivery date on the truck, because they could be waiting for the aluminum body for quite a while.
Right.
So just be aware of that.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Chief, are you running into the same situation? Have you started that process yet?
I have.
saying
June.
Guaranteed? Probably not.
Handshake guarantee.
Yeah.
No liquidated damage.
So for the truck part, we'll have on the January 3rd
Yes.
agenda so that we can get that moving and we're into the new year. But the issue that you still need addressed tonight is the 200 amp service.
Yes.
What was the analysis of Mr. Fickthorn when he went in to look at?
He basically said the same exact thing as the bathroom contractor did. It's way overloaded. It needs updated for sure.
So we need the 200 amp
Yeah,
service.
absolutely. And this does also include electrical inspection that is required, and it is included in his price.
200 amp, my home.
Oh, yeah, we have 200 amp, yeah. Well, most residential now is 200 amps. That's why for a commercial garage, I always no way.
So is the power source coming to the building sufficient, or you gotta go further out to get it?
Now, it does say an overhead service on maintenance building with the new 200 amp breaker box and 200 amp overhead meter socket along with the new 200 amp overhead mast.
So we're going out a ways.
A little bit, yes. And that's all included, like I said, in his quote, in his price.
Must do.
Yeah.
Must do.
It's that simple, yes.
So we have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the expenditure to go to a 200 amp service with the low bid.
And I'll have a second. Okay, any other questions? Yes, sir.
Alan Maxwell, I do have a question on the bathroom renovation. And talking with some people and doing a little bit of research. We've been discussing this renovation for 2 to 3 years now, if I'm not mistaken. Why have we waited until now to make a decision? If we knew we needed it to be done 2 years ago, why didn't we get it done then? And we could have saved $10,000 to $20,000 in costs.
My recollection from 2 to 3 years ago was budgetary constraints at the time. And that's why it was pushed out.
The 3 years it took us to get the money together to do it, now we're spending over $40,000.
Hindsight's 20/20. We never knew we were gonna see this kind of.
Seems the
inflation.
township has a problem with paralysis in decision-making. It takes us 2 or 3 years to make a decision, and we end up spending more. It's not the only project that I've seen this on, there's others. And I just kind of wonder what we can do to speed that process up so that we are more proactive and not ending up costing more money than it should have when we first saw the problem.
I think what I just said was it was not a decision process. That was the delay. The delay was a budgetary process.
So 3 years ago, if we knew it needed to be done, why didn't we budget it into the next year's budget or 2 years' budget?
Because the budget was not available for those funds.
So you couldn't plan for it, is what you're saying?
We can plan for it. We can raise taxes.
But I don't think that would be necessary to do that if you budget it and put it into the budget and work the budget side.
Okay.
Here's my opinion.
Here's a suggestion, maybe there's something in the middle here. You know, when we do have the budget meetings in the fall, they are public meetings. And you're welcome to sit in and listen in, not comment at that point in time. But, you know, in subsequent supervisor meetings, if you see something that's being proposed or suggested, that would probably be the time to throw out.
Yeah, I definitely plan on being in next year's budget meetings for sure.
Sure, they're public meeting, there'll be seats there. But I'm just saying, that's probably a way to address it at the time when it's relevant.
Yeah.
Okay?
That makes sense, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries. Roadmaster, is that all you have?
That's all I have. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a just a follow-up on the broom, I guess. Was there any more research done on the bristles there? Will these nylon ones be more, I don't know, prone to?
So I had reached out to the company, ODB company that we have apparently ordered these bristles from in the past, and explained the situation, explained what we were doing with the broom, and she basically said she did not see any kind of issue with what we're using, what we're doing with it, that these probably would be basically benefit us. And I explained the situation about the metal ones falling off during the sweeping process. That's a more common thing during the sweeping process for that specific broom style. So with that being said, with us eliminating those, we should not have any issues with the poly one moving forward.
So they'll wear and hold together better?
Yes, they're will do the jobs we're doing with that broom adequate enough with the same style broom.
We don't have a concern then about how it's being operated, causing
And I've
problems?
also talked to people or other roadmasters that have kind of the same style of broom, and they went through and said that they basically write that off. They have the same style of broom with the metal bristles, and it happens every sweeping time with that as well, with their same machine.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm glad to hear we're going to the nylon, and hopefully they will
Hold up, right.
be steady.
Yep.
So, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, treasurer's report, list of those.
Treasurer's report, okay, we have a total general fund of $89,580.99. Any questions of that? Yes, sir.
Doug Michael, I'm sure it's a typo, but under American Rock Salt Company, it says false ice. You didn't buy ice from the salt company. I think it should have been ice melon.
I would say you're correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It was 2 truckloads of salt, that's what that was.
Part of our MS4 changes.
Yeah.
We're not putting salt down.
If it's ice milk, can you imagine the cat following the truck?
Over on Ecker Seaman, it's only $204, but there hasn't been anything there for a while. What's that about? You know? The guy signed a check.
I have it in here.
It's a. That's all right, Mike.
It's a personnel matter.
Yeah.
All right, okay. That's it.
Anybody else? If not, I make a motion to approve as listed.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, and we have a total light fund of $13,745.96. Is there any questions there? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
Okay, and we have a electronic payment listed bills, payroll, for the pay period of 11/21 through 12/4 of $84,056.17. Is there any questions there? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries.
And that concludes this treasurer report.
Thank you.
The only other item we have on there is since we're coming to the end of the year, this is our last meeting, the motion for the board to consider the payment of final bills and invoices received by the township through December 30th, 2021, following a review and approval of the township treasurer and assistant treasurer. That way we can make sure whatever was received is paid out of 2021, gets the review, and then like we did, I think in the June meeting of July, we also made a copy of that available for the public.
So move.
And I will second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and second. Any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So, old business. OPEB report.
Were you waiting for me, or?
I'm not sure.
That uneasy silence. We had presented at the last meeting, we had received it, the board had received it, and at the last meeting, there was a brief overview of it, and the mention that we could discuss it here if there was additional discussion concerning the report that we got back in. And did you have anything you wanted to discuss with me?
No, you go ahead, I'll dive in as I feel.
Sure, I just was going to, the report had given us, as you recall, an estimated liability for this program of 1.8 million, a little bit higher than that, $1,816,424. In our budget for 2022, we budgeted $96,152.72, I believe, to cover our post-employment health benefit costs. They had projected in the study for 2022 a projected payment of about $111,635. Judy, we talked a little bit about that today. Was there anything you saw that showed why that was a little different outside of their estimate for the renewal for health insurance being a little bit different?
No, I couldn't reconcile what the difference was.
Their projection was a little bit higher. One of the components was higher of a renewal. Our health insurance came in less for renewal from 21 to 2022. But this report, again, is obviously meant to project out what our liability is to the township to cover these benefits moving forward, to make sure that we know what they are and that we have a plan to be able to address them.
Yeah, the initial projections were, in the analysis, was 7.5% in 2021 for healthcare inflation, and then 7.25% in 2022 for the healthcare inflation. And then normalizing, I shouldn't say normalizing, and then trending out to, yeah, this report goes that far out, trending out to 4% in 2074. The only other thing we can add really is the number of active participants on this now are, there are 9 officers, and the number of retired participants is 7. Yes, sir.
Question, Doug Macklin. Do we still send out affidavits to, this is all for the retired police officers only, that's correct? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do we still send out a yearly affidavit that they swear that they're not working somewhere else and we're offered benefits, that once they get off of our plan, they can't come back home?
I believe they can come back on.
They didn't used to be able to. Maybe you guys changed it, but it was always the insurance company said, once you leave here, you can't come back home.
Not the case anymore.
I'm sorry.
There's been arbitrations in other areas that indicate that they can, and I think our insurance company currently, if I'm not mistaken, allows that. correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, again, you know, I've been out of them a couple of years, but back then you couldn't do it, so. things
I
might
think when we
change.
changed to Benetcon, that changed. It's my understanding.
But the affidavits are still going out.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
that's my
Yes.
because
I'd also like to point out that, this is not available to any officers hired after January 1st, 2017. So it does have an end date of 2054, where our liability would end.
Thank you.
Thought I saw another question. Yes, sir.
That Allen Fry, that's for the current contract.
correct.
Yes.
So Judy, I guess we don't have a hard 2022 number yet for what that will be until we're well into the year and all retirees are recognized, or?
Correct.
Yeah.
We'll have 3 new retirees that will make a decision on whether they want to take the benefits or not.
So it's too soon to say there's a hard number for next year.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we had projected that.
We did, and we projected that all 3 retirees would take it,
Right.
so
So we have
it
a
could
worst
only be
case
lower
scenario.
than what we budgeted.
Right.
Well, there's just a discrepancy between their number and our number.
Right.
They're at 111 and we're at 96. And, yeah. So you're saying it's not going to be above 96 according to your calculation?
According to my calculation, it should not be above 96,000.
Okay.
And keep in mind the difference there, it's not apples to apples, because that's an actuarial calculation based on predicted future events, which makes it really difficult.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, may I say something?
Yes, sir. Yes, Chief.
I mean, not liked by very many people, but you asked me earlier what we're going to do about the recruiting. Something to think about post-retirement benefits in the future, because if we have a department here that offers it, but we don't, we may very well lose candidates. Just saying that. You asked the different scenarios, and I'm giving you one. There are still departments, I believe, that still offer.
They're still offering OPEB, I believe.
But again, it's that balancing act that has to be done by the board in reference to that.
Yeah, because the new hires are not in this is contractual
Prior to 2017.
way back.
So this applies to only a certain window. I mean, there's a say a bunch, but there's a number of retirees who are not eligible for OPEB. And then there was retirees apparently starting sometime prior to 2017 who were eligible for OPEB.
Correct.
And then post 2017, not eligible.
Correct.
New hires not eligible for OPEB. So it's a no, a yes, and a no. Okay.
Well, I'm not familiar with the no, the first no. I always thought everybody got them. That was before my time, a long time ago. And I stand corrected on that, because before, when I started, they were always there.
Okay.
And Craig, you know, I don't disagree with you. We were at a meeting.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mac, man.
Thank you.
We were at a meeting on Tuesday, and one of the guys in there owns a big local business. I won't say his name, but he's offering $5, $10, $15 an hour above going rate to keep people there. So I agree with what the chief's saying. You know, it's become a very competitive thing. The last thing I want to see, I'm a registered Republican. That should tell you everything you need to know. I want to see these guys out in their black and whites or green cars, whatever they're gonna be driving, or all white, I don't care. I don't wanna live in a community where there's no police. I don't wanna live in a West Cocalico where you gotta wait however long it takes them to get there, or Adamstown. I just don't. So whenever we have to pay these guys, that's how I feel about it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, moving on to new business, informational supervisor liaison program.
Do you want to?
Yes, well, it's something that, with my being on the board almost 2 years now, I've been involved with that, and it's been very much a non-involvement, I guess. There's been little need for my attention anywhere with any development. And, I look at our current situation now with hiring a very competent community development officer and township manager here the same way. I don't know that I see a need to continue with that, and would like to make a motion to terminate it. And I wondered how you gentlemen felt about it.
I will second so we can have some discussion. I had thought it was eliminated when we hired someone to be the community development coordinator to meet with potential developers and what have you. She can attend those meetings and she can come back and actually tell the 3 board members what happened. If one of the board members attends the meeting, that board member cannot come back and tell the other 2 board members what happened. I mean, she can, and I thought we did it already, but it just, if someone from the board is the liaison, then she'll need to know exactly what went on. Otherwise, she may give them differing information based on whether it's her experience or her master's in community planning. But, and she also can meet with them and doesn't get a vote on potential waivers or zoning change, she didn't get a vote on that going forward, whereas we do. But I really think that we have a good hire. You've heard me say that before, that's and I think we should fully utilize her talents and skills.
One caveat to all that, Craig, that I've seen in the past, there's times where manager and engineers will sit in on a pre-planning meeting or something with a developer coming in, and I believe a supervisor has sat in just to listen in and gather information, and I don't think that that's a bad idea at all, just for that small component. But the idea that I'm out there or one of my other board members talking to developers in one way or the other, and our key personnel aren't involved, I don't think that's a good idea. It sends a bad message from our board.
Well, let's look at historically where the supervisor liaison originated. The supervisor liaison program originated back in 2018 with the strategic plan that was rolled out. Okay, and quite frankly, which some board members sitting up here have claimed they've never seen. So that was rolled out in 2018. In 2019, the supervisor liaison program was put in place exactly for what you just described, Jeff. The intent of the program was that to give, not developers only, it was existing businesses it was the intent, the spirit of it was to give existing businesses, developers, we assign a supervisor to each one of those, let's call them projects, businesses, so that if there's a complaint, if there's an issue or something, and they may not be able to get a hold of somebody quickly, or they weren't getting a quick response to their satisfaction, it just kind of facilitated things. Because one of the things we had heard about back in 2018 was that the businesses felt like they weren't being heard. They felt like we were not responding to whatever the concern was of the day.
You're absolutely right. The zoning officer held a business meeting consortium then. There was almost 100 business owners showed up. And they were talking about unresponsiveness
and
of
that's
the
where
township. And I totally agree.
So
that's the origin of it.
Right. So the intent never was to override a manager. It was never designed, and Doug and Alan are here, it was never designed to override a manager, to be a lead contact, to override any of the staff. Absolutely not. The intent and the spirit of that program was to respond to what we heard from the business owners, which was, guys, if Sharon, I'm calling Sharon, sorry, I'm gonna use you as an example. I'm calling you and I've called about 5 times, I can't get a response. Then there's a quick call to Jeff to say, hey, can you help me out on this? I got a major issue. Okay, that was the intent. Now, yes, things have evolved. We've got some excellent people in place right now. So the real question becomes, do you eliminate the whole program? I'm not sure. Or do you still keep the program and just evolve it into some other type of model? I'm not sure. Not sure.
There was a period of time for about 50 years where one of the supervisors was a full-time employee. He was the secretary, the treasurer, and the roadmaster, and actually worked as the roadmaster. I mean, drove snowplow and the whole 9 yards. Whether that was Eric Ressler for many, many years, whether that was David Hoover for 25 years, or whether it was Bud Ashman for 6. I think Jim Madison may have been the first secretary treasurer who was not physically working on the road. So there was about a 50-year period. There were some, as you said, stuff does happen. You're right. I mean, I won't argue that it doesn't. But they would go, developer would go to the full-time supervisor, because that's who was in the building, and he had an office, he had a desk, I'm telling you, the whole bed. And he wouldn't take it back to the other 2. And this is pre-sunshine, okay? He just would make his decision, and the other 2 would hear about it maybe sometime down the road. That led to actually seeing on the ballot about 35 or 40 years ago, on the ballot, to go from 3 supervisors to 5. That effort was led by an outfit called MECA, Meadowbrook Estates Concerned Citizens Association. It was soundly defeated, and I'm not singing its virtues today, it's history time. But they were that upset years ago that they wanted to move from 3 to 5 supervisors so that you could actually have 2 people attend something. There's 60 municipalities in this county, 41 townships, 18 boroughs, and 1 third-class city. And every single one of those 18 boroughs has how many people?
7 to 9.
7 to 9. So in Adamstown, there's 7 to 9, in Denver, there's 7 to 9.
Yeah, so the Mount Joy is 9, I believe,
Right.
Denver, Adamstown have 7, most of them
And
7.
between the two of you, you have 5,000 people, roughly. Six.
Yeah.
And I guess we're heading toward 12, I think, maybe 11 change, 12. Anyway, it was on the ballot, it was soundly defeated, and so there's been 3 supervisors ever since. But, I do have a fear of, we have good supervisors, we do. But she will almost need to know what's already been said or who's been talked to, because we don't want to send a conflicting message to that developer. And I think that's important. I guess my suggestion, and this is a discussion on a motion, my suggestion would be is, she's here, she's ready to run at the job. Sharon, please. Sharon is here, she's ready to continue to run at it. Why don't we suspend the supervisor liaison program for the year 2022 and reevaluate it next year at this time? And if it's worked, terrific, and it hasn't, then we have a black eye for 1 year, and we had the intelligence to go back and revisit.
And if any time in between, it needs some discussion, bring it out.
Sure.
Bring it out. I'm comfortable that we have top-notch people here, very top-notch people. And, stand back and let them go. I think in the past, when we were hearing a lot of grumbling in the community, we didn't have this kind of setup, and I'm comfortable with letting them go. I have a lot of confidence in that guy there, and these 2 folks here as employees of the township, and I'll follow along with Craig's idea. Suspend. Let's see how it goes.
Well, I will say one thing, you've heard me say this many, many times in many meetings. I know Larry's a history buff. You've heard me say many times that I think General Patton's quote is one of the best ones out there. Tell your people what you need done, get the hell out of the way, and they will amaze you with their ingenuity. So,
let's see what they can do.
Yes, sir.
Question, Doug Macklin. Are you gonna do away with the pre-planning meeting?
No.
Okay.
No. You heard me say that as a supervisor, if you get involved with a development project, all of a sudden maybe a communication gap shows up. And I don't want to be talking to somebody and our people don't know about it. I don't want to be in that position.
Well, and again, Archie said it best. We didn't have that person. We had a zoning officer.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go with that. But there was a lot of gaps. And we were always getting bad mouthed, not only by the developers, but by people in this community that I could do a better job, let me in there, blah, 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 blah. This was a way to try and get the UGIs of the world to talk to Alan, the Garden Spot Frame to talk to RC, the Members First Bank to talk to me. They had a problem, they'd call me, say, hey, I can't get anything through this agency, what do I do? And I know Alan went through it, and so did RC. And it was just a fluid way of doing things, instead of making them wait for 2 weeks to come to a meeting, and then three of us sit here and look at each other like three blind mice and not know what's going on. So it was a way to do things. I'm not suggesting that the young lady can't do the job. I was just trying to get some clarification.
Sharon, yeah.
My
I
biggest,
can't see the name from here, I should know it, but I don't.
my biggest awakening, Doug, was way back in April with the developer along Carl Howard Boulevard. And the email that I got came from Tony saying that he and RC had met and the developer wanted certain information or wanted our thoughts on things. And that came from Tony because RC couldn't send that. And that's, I understand that. If he'd have sent that, asking our opinions on what have you, that would have been in violation of sunshine. And so he didn't. So Tony sends it, and that's what I guess that's what I'm saying, you know, she can do that pre-planning meeting and send the memo to all three of us. Any one of us attend that pre-planning meeting, we can't send that memo to the other two. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Lorenzo Benoit, just a question, right? So if Sharon would want a supervisor for a project to be present, would that still be possible, or not at all?
I consider that to be within her job scope and expertise, that she can make that decision at any time. You know, again, you know, Doug said it, at the time this was put in place, we didn't have that. At the time that this was put in place, we had a lot of gaps, So this was a measure put in place to try to help with those gaps.
Many tools, we have many tools we utilize them to get better.
And even in that case, in that regard, the message would come back through me and to all the board, just letting them know this is what's being, proposed, this is what we're looking to do. So everybody's on the same page and they know what they're gonna get. That's what the plan.
And I think it's important to bring up now, you and I have spoken a lot about this. Sorry, Craig, but correct me if I'm wrong. We are not a day-to-day operation board. This board are not employees. We are volunteers. We have the staff in place that is the professional staff that's fully employed to handle what they need to do. We are I like your terminology, I think if I remember correctly, is we are a policy board. We are not a tactical day-to-day operational board. Big difference. Just like the board I sit on for a college, we don't look at the day-to-day items over the year. We look at policy, we look at strategy, we look at long-term effects. Yes, sir.
Steve Brubaker, and then to just piggyback on what you're saying, RC, keep in mind the three of you are elected officials. So with Sharon running the operations of Community Development Director, she reports to you, but if there's any type of influence that one supervisor may have, for Sharon, let's keep those boundaries straight.
Well, the chain of command, Steve, would be she reports to Mike.
Correct, that's what I said.
Mike's the manager.
Yes, you are just an elected official, you're not her.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I completely agree with you. And we're very sensitive to we cannot be directly influencing the professional employees. That's not our position.
Correct.
It should never be our position.
I understand that.
So I hear what you're saying and completely resonate, agree with what you're saying.
Said.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Any other comments?
Nope. all for the vote.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Well, we had one, should we modify it?
Sure.
In that we suspend the supervisor liaison program for a 1-year period
For calendar year 2022,
with a reevaluation of that.
I'm second that.
Yes. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries.
And just so you know, Larry, I was not advocating for 5 supervisors, just simply saying this was on the ballot.
Three's enough.
Huh?
Three's enough.
This was on the ballot back around, I don't know, 1980.
Okay. Then, any other new business? No, okay. So, public comment for non-agenda items. Yes, sir.
Speaking of gaps, I like to just personally, Brian Wise, thank Craig for filling the gap and all you've done and brought your wealth of knowledge to the board the last couple of months and
You're stealing my thunder. I have it on the computer.
Oh, go ahead, you finish it off then.
I love this township.
And before he gets going, hopefully you have fun in Florida, and hopefully when you come back, we can plug you in about 3 or 4 places. But we don't want to lose you.
Actually, I don't believe that, no, this is my opinion. I don't believe that any one person should hold maybe like more than one appointed position because we used to have to search for names, but now between social media, a real quality newsletter, our webpage, people coming to meetings, Zooming meetings, I think that people, know that there's an opening here and there, and I think if everybody gets a piece of pie, that'll be good to have inclusion in the community.
Thank you. Okay, we'll call you a consultant. Thank you.
Thank you for the.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Doug Mackley again. Reading the effort of review this week, I saw where effort of borough has a $7.9 million budget. And that West Cocalico's share, it doesn't say that, but I know that their share of that is about $1 million. So, or 12.5%. At the last meeting, Jeff, I asked you if you'd spoken to your buddy J.J. Stoner about trying to get them back into the pool. Have you done that yet?
No, sir, I haven't.
And the reasons for that?
I think they're currently on a multi-year contract with them. And perhaps that opportunity will come when that.
But I guess the groundwork would be, you haven't even spoken to him about maybe thinking about when they leave them to come back to us, or?
I can tell you, I spoke to Adamstown.
Okay.
I spoke to a council person in Adamstown. Let me be, with the a council person, who am I blown a long time? And I think it is important for East Cocalico and West and Denver and Adamstown to try to be as cohesive a unit as possible. And my suggestion to this gentleman was, can we find a project of fiscal minuscule, okay, because it's not supposed to be about the money. Can we find a project that's important to this community that all 4 municipalities could sign on to, would want to be a part of, and would actually have something, that the end result was the Cocalico community is better that day than it was the day before. I don't know that the police will be the standalone issue. I think we have to rebuild that relationship with West and with Adamstown. And I don't want to see dollar numbers get in the way. You know, I would like to see it that much that some projects, some good. I mean, heck, I even thought about, you know, Kentucky's a Commonwealth. There's only 4 states that are Commonwealths: Massachusetts, Virginia, PA, and Kentucky, I believe.
Right.
And you know, maybe we go together. Maybe we adopt a community in Kentucky and raise, you know, I saw an acre of bottles of water today, you know, raise food, raise awareness, raise something for that area that's been devastated. That would be I don't know that we can go right back and jump on that police contract horse. But I believe once we get back together as a community, as a Cocalico community, we'll have a better shot at it.
Well, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but we do have a project, and no one wants to talk about it. It's called the SRO. I just think it's terrible that West Cocalico Township and Adamstown Borough think that little of their children that they won't contribute a dime to them. That should be the talking point. That should be the talking point from you as a supervisor to them. We're not talking millions of dollars. West Denver Borough, actually East Cocalico is footing the bill. Denver Borough picks up their share, but we're footing everybody else. We're subsidizing it. That's a project. And yeah, J.J. Stoner was all riled up about the pension. Well, guess what? Our pension's better than Ephrata Borough's. And I know they signed a multi-year contract, but my point is, someone, and you were the guy that wanted to get rid of the cop. And you were now you can shake your head all you want. We're not even gonna discuss that, but the word on the street was, you wanted to get rid of the cops, you wanted to get rid of the fire companies, you wanted to get rid of everybody to save us money. But why don't you go talk to them about getting us to go back together? We're 100% funded or close to it. They're barely over 90. That I know. So, you know, we do have a talking point, and it's the SRO.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
During Alan Maxwell, during that time period where East Cocalico lost that contract, there was a lot of things said and done that burned a lot of bridges, hurt a lot of egos on both sides. Before we can proceed with any new contract talks as a township and as a Cocalico area, we need to look at mending those fences and building those bridges back, because no contract will ever take place again as long as those hurt feelings and those bruised egos are in place. A lot of mistakes were made during that time period on both sides. And we should have, in all honesty, in my opinion, we should have never lost that to Ephrata. That was the worst decision those townships could make. But because of things that were said, things that were done, bruised egos got in the way. And we ended up losing it, and those residents are paying the price for that. You talk to anybody that lives in those areas, their police coverage sucks. But bridges have to be fixed, fences have to be mended before we can even have any hopes of getting to the point where we can talk to them about that contract again. And it's gotta start somewhere. Someone has to raise the peace flag and say, let's talk about what happened, what mistakes were made, and how can we correct it. And if we have to be the bigger people to do it, let's be the bigger people. Let's put our egos aside and step up and say, let's sit down at a table and talk about the mistakes that were made. There's new boards in place on both sides and all around that I'm sure have to be willing to be able to talk at the very least.
Thank you. Anything else? Well, Brian, you stole what I was gonna say.
Go ahead, read it.
But
I do have one issue I wanted to ask about, the standby generator, where are we at on that project?
The generator part, it's in the budget for next year. I think the discussion was now to look at getting some, since we have the report finalized, looking to get some bids from some of the surrounding companies that do that based off of those specifications, and then see what our next step will be then.
So we could look to see that done in 2022.
Yeah, it's budgeted for 2022, and let me say, I think it said a 56-week delay to get it, or whatever, 52 weeks, so we can make the
Could be
decision
23
to award
till
it,
we actually
but
get it,
we
yeah.
may not physically see it until then.
Could be seasick till it got
Could be
here.
24.
Yeah. As long as we're moving forward on it, decisions are being made, that was
Right.
my concern. Thank you.
Could be seasick.
So I just wanted to say, Craig, thank you very much for volunteering your time. I think a lot of people don't understand the time commitment of sitting up here. Time commitment, not in the meetings themselves, Alan's back there smiling, not in the meetings, but the time that goes into reviewing, reading, documenting. Jeff's up here nodding, and so's Doug. Thank you very much for stepping up and doing that.
You're very welcome.
Truly
Thank you for the
appreciate it.
opportunity.
Truly appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I echo those thoughts, Craig. It's been a fun 8 months working with you. You never fail to bring up something to make us all remember history and a little bit of a chuckle too. But beyond that, you have provided some insight into financials and ways of doing things that I think can be helpful in the future. And I appreciate what you've done. You definitely filled a hole. And make sure and thank your wonderful bride for letting you out for this time period too. I'm going to miss having your wisdom around. So don't go too far. Maybe there's a little spot for you somewhere.
There's a lot of good people in this community.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Okay. I just have one final item. It's a matter of housekeeping for the end of the year. There's one item that that I would like to close out for the end of the year in full transparency. I have a letter here from the District Attorney's Office from Lancaster County. The letter reads as follows. East Cocalico Township Board of Supervisors, 100 Hill Road, Denver, PA, 17517. Board of Supervisors, our office has received an allegation that East Cocalico Township Board of Supervisors, specifically Chairman R.C. Carrasco, violated 65 PACS 708B of the Sunshine Act. Specifically, it is alleged that Chairman Carrasco held an executive session regarding a personnel matter with Supervisor Craig Ebersol and Acting Township Manager Derek Kepley without providing the required 24-hour notice to Supervisor Jeffrey Mitchell. The purpose of this letter is twofold. First, I wish to advise you that our office will not initiate a formal investigation of the allegation. Given the circumstances surrounding the violation and the de minimis nature of the infraction, formal investigation and prosecution would not be in the interest of justice at this time. Secondly, now that you've been notified of the requirements of Section 708, upon complaint of a subsequent violation, we will initiate an investigation of the Sunshine Act violation as it would have been done with full knowledge the action was unlawful. An investigation could result in a prosecution being filed against members of the Board of Supervisors for a violation of the act. I would encourage members of the Board of Supervisors to consult with your solicitor if you have any questions about the legality of the actions you contemplate taking on behalf of the township. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Ken Schweitzer, Chief County Detective. So, just a housekeeping item for the end of the year to wrap that up. So, the next Board of Supervisor meeting will be held next year. And it will be held on Monday. Now, this is the reorganization meeting, as many of you are aware of. It will be held on Monday, January 3rd at 7 p.m. in person in East Cocalico Township. And it will, excuse me, and it will be via live Zoom also, okay? So, we have no executive sessions for tonight. Thank you again, Craig.
You're very welcome. Thank you for that opportunity.
And do we have a motion to this?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
And I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
$2,200 on this.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy New Year. Be safe.